Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland. Well, thank you for coming over to my channel. Well, just a few days ago, a new dawn broke in the United Kingdom, and that was the establishment of Restore Britain, a political party led by Rupert Lowe MP. So, Mr. Lowe was elected to Parliament in 2024 under the banner of the Reform United Kingdom. So, he quickly had a falling out with Nigel Farage, and Farage has a habit of falling out very badly indeed with some of his closest colleagues. So Lowe has gone off in a huff, sat as an independent for a while, one of only 5 Reform UK MPs initially. And obviously Reform UK has doubled its parliamentary delegation by winning a by-election and getting it 4 Tory defections. But anyway, Mr. Lowe has established his own party. Restore Britain is going nowhere fast. There's hardly room for 2 parties on the right in British politics, the Conservative Party and Reform UK. There certainly isn't room for 3. And now, but maybe they're not fighting over the same territory. I think it'd be fair to say that Restore Britain is a far-right party. I know that term is bandied about for anyone who's not a left-winger. It's meant to be delegitimizing, it's an insult, it's a thought-terminating cliche, but it's not always inapposite. So I think that this time it is spot on. So Rupert Lowe's politics, they are deeply distasteful. This is ethno-nationalism, and this is like religious bigotry and so on. So I don't like Mr. Lowe's politics one bit, and Reform UK is probably better off without him. And I'm not a supporter of Reform UK, by the way. Never been a member of them, or the Brexit Party, or the UK Independence Party, nor indeed ever voted for any of those parties, ever. But coming on to Rupert Lowe. So, yeah, Restore Britain. And so it's got a number of eye-catching policies. And this is very, very, very tight immigration control indeed. They don't want net zero immigration. They want net negative immigration. So net immigration, as in more people moving out than are moving in. Okay, and so there's even some legal immigrants, even people who are lawfully in the United Kingdom, would in some cases be arrested and booted out. So regular kind of thing that's happened in the United States with Donald Trump. Maybe it's for expressing opinions which are uncongenial to Mr. Lowe. So, wow. And so he thinks that Reform UK is too soft on this. So why do these people have this fixation with immigration? Immigration is not always a terrible thing. I mean, immigrants are human too. Okay, I know we're all immigrants. If you look far back enough, we all come from the Rift Valley in Africa. So I'm actually relaxed about immigration now. I think the United Kingdom's got about the right level. Republic of Ireland, we maybe got it too high still. Anyway, he says he wants to bring back capital punishment, but that's an opinion that about 45% of the British public agree with, depending on what case. Now, I mean, I don't support the death penalty myself, but if all those 45% voted for him, he'd win, but they won't, because it's one policy amongst many. And, you know, is he going to have a full slate of candidates, 650 candidates? I mean, I think nowhere near. Where's the money come from? The big donors. He's not going to get the media attention, the auction of publicity. We just won't be talking about him in a year. And a handful of councillors who are there for Reform UK have defected to him. But yeah, I think they're going nowhere fast. So the party probably shut down within 5 years. So there are a lot of these parties. I mean, I found that was the Democratic Party by Lord Burford, founded was it 1999. The Pro-Euro Conservative Party, founded about 1997. I can't remember these sort of tiny parties never get anywhere. Veritas, founded by Robert Kilroy Silk, the TV host who was then a UKIP MEP, and you know that sunk without trace, and so on. These things fizzle out quite quickly. They're more examples. The Social Democratic Party. Okay, so go on to what he's got to say. Okay, so extremely punitive attitudes to crime, so building more prison spaces. So the death penalty for murder, I don't know if it's all categories of murder, maybe it's only premeditated. Inevitably, you'll get it wrong. The UK executed, was it 800 people in the 20th century? Most in the early bit, obviously none in New York 1964. And in 3 of those cases, the person executed was actually later found to be not guilty. Okay, so you might say, well, that's well under 1%, but you know, that 1% could have been you. And the evidence that it deters crime is actually very mixed, and so on. So no, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. Okay, so what else? He wants to outlaw the burqa and niqab. Well, you know, I believe in freedom, and including the freedom to wear these face coverings. I can see in certain security situations I might oblige a woman to remove it because the police need to verify her identity, such as in the airport. And if it's a policeman or other policewoman, I would just say tough. But he wants to forbid halal and kosher slaughtering practices. I mean, I disbelieve in the whole notion of animal rights. They've got no responsibilities. I don't want to see species go extinct. And I do have some sympathy for hounds, for example. I dislike egregious suffering of animals. And I realize that it must be a ghastly way for them to die. But nevertheless, I wouldn't outlaw it. But, you know, what was the subtext? Is it because he wants to victimize Muslims and Jews and so forth? Okay, so he says he wants to emphasize Christian principles. I would remind him that Jesus Christ was a refugee, and that Jesus Christ was homeless, and Jesus Christ had to flee a genocide to Egypt and so forth. When he says Christian principles, I don't think he's quite so big on the compassion and the showing mercy to the sojourner. Yeah, he's an ethno-nationalist. I'm a civic nationalist. My British nationalism is open to people of all ethnicities and all faiths. Okay, okay. So we'll go on. I know, but I'm not speaking in Latin or ancient Greek, and languages change. So he says he would allow pepper spray to be allowed to defend oneself and so on. And I don't not opposed to that, because that just disables people temporarily coughing and sneezing or whatever, and their eyes lacrimating. I think if you use it repeatedly on someone who's got a respiratory complaint, he or she can die. Reasonable force to defend your own house, well, okay, that's in the law anyway, but maybe it doesn't go far enough. He wants to cut taxes. I'm on board with that. He wants to slash regulation and slim down the state. That's all good. Welfare that promotes work over benefits. Well, everybody says that. And he says to reduce public funding for the BBC and similar organizations. Well, we're on the same page on this one. And more localism. Well, I don't agree with that. I believe in the unity of the United Kingdom. But yeah, so I think it's really racialist and xenophobic, and just trying to target ethnic minority communities. So that's it. It's not going to go anywhere. So some people say he's attracted a really bad crowd. So goodness, millions of people deported, millions have been here for decades who've not done any harm. On even if they're deported, what about their spouses, their children, and so on? Okay, right. So what do you think? Do you think it's bad news or not? I mean, how can they possibly get anywhere? And they just won't get the media coverage, and you need to get the media coverage. Yeah. What is English political identity without ethnicity? Okay, because that you can support the English football team, or eat typically English food and drink English drinks and wear English clothes and like English music and architecture and dancing and all the rest of it. And there's what ethnically English, or Australian, South African, Irish, American, or whatever. And so forth. Okay, and then obviously a country's culture isn't hermetically sealed. England's both received and transmitted memes. But by the way, it's not about England, it's about the United Kingdom, it's about Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so what do you think? Is his party going to survive? How can it survive? Any supporters out there? So I think Lowe is going low. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching my channel.